Okay, so this is the Cambridge University College tier list. Uh, this is my take on which are the best colleges at Cambridge. I've seen students upload their own versions of these, and they were rubbish. So this is going to be much better. It might be a bit controversial, and there's a surprise at the end. So stay tuned and you'll find out. Okay, so we're going to start with St. John's College. Now, when I was a kid, I visited Cambridge. I was about 10 years old with my family because I had some family who lived near Cambridge, and we visited it. And we drove past St. John's College and got this view of this building. And I just got a glimpse of it. And I thought, wow, that is amazing. What is that building? And it was years until I got to go back and actually see it. And when I went back to see St. John's, it was as a student. And it is an incredible college. But it has a bad reputation. So the saying at Cambridge is you'd rather be at Oxford than at St. John's. And that is obviously not true. I mean, St. John's is amazing, but they do have some issues. They don't perform that well academically, historically, and nobody seems to like the rugby team. But even still, I give St. John's a first. Amazing place. All right, next is Peterhouse here on the left. Yeah, Peterhouse it was the second college I saw, I have memories of, because we went to visit Cambridge with my family when I was considering applying, and we parked up somewhere around here, walked past Peterhouse, and I got a glimpse of it. And I don't think I ever went inside Peterhouse. My entire time at Cambridge, never went in there, and it is quite a nice college. It's very centrally located, but it has a kind of weird insular reputation. And there are some stories about students and professors having some secret gathering where they would turn the lights off, and whatever happened when the lights are off was like stayed in the room. And I don't know, it's something a bit off about that place. So gets a 2-2. Next is St. Catherine's. And St. Catherine's has this beautiful three-sided court with a gate here. I actually think St. Catherine's was the first college I visited when I was a baby, because my dad actually went here, and one of my uncles went here as well as students. And so there is a photo of me in a pram, aged about 3, visiting St. Catherine's. And I almost applied there actually, but in the end, it wasn't the right college for the subject I wanted to do, and I didn't end up applying. But St. Catherine's is nice. It's a bit on the small side. It's less prominent than some of the other centrally located colleges. So I give it a 2-1, a low 2-1. Now, King's College. So next up, as you walk past St. Catherine's, you hit King's College. And so I went to Gonville and Caius College, which is the next college along the King's Parade. And I stayed, in my first year, we stayed in this building called Harvey Court, which was just behind where this photo is taken from. And we would walk through King's College every day to get to Caius, to go for breakfast or lunch or dinner, or to go to the college to meet people, go to the college bar. And we'd walk through here. And one of the first time I did it, in a cold autumn morning, walked past here and saw this exact view, and it made me really proud to be at Cambridge. I mean, it is an incredible sight to behold, as in real life. And it's really nice. I also went in the chapel just one time, and it is spectacular. Built by, or commissioned by Henry VIII, I think, and just incredible to look at. But because I went to Caius, I could just walk through the college every day. So I got to look at it every day. And the college also has a bad reputation. It's performed very poorly academically, historically, partly because they For political reasons, they started accepting students who had lesser grades at school, to be more inclusive, but with the idea that those students could be educated at King's and perform well. But that did not materialize, and the college has done very poorly academically. I don't know how they're doing recently, but um, they did not do that well academically. And because I can walk through the college anyway, I've given it just a 2-1 high. Maybe I should get a first, but we'll give it a 2-1. Okay, next, Gonville and Keys. So this is the college I went to. Now, Keys is centrally located. It's very nice. It also has this area, yeah, like I mentioned, the other side of King's College, where they have this building, Harvey Court, and another building next to it called the Stephen Hawking Building, after Stephen Hawking. Actually, Stephen Hawking used to live here, and they demolished his house to build the Stephen Hawking Building. So it was a very nice thing that Hawking did to agree to that in order to make the college better, which it objectively has done. But actually, I prefer Harvey Court. So I lived in Harvey Court on the top floor at the back here. And what was so great about it is they had these balconies that connect every room. And so you could walk along the balcony to like 20, 30 different rooms, depending on where you are in the building, and see what people are up to and hang out with people. So I made friends up there because it was just so easy to see people. And Harvey Court, well located, had these nice gardens. It looks pretty ugly, but I thought it was great. And the reason why I went to Keys is because they have a history in genetics. Francis Crick was a fellow there, R.A. Fisher, and there are a few other famous geneticists, Nobel Prize winners, and other great scientists who went to Keys. And sadly, during the pandemic, they actually tore down this stained glass window commemorating R.A. Fisher because of some of his political views. But, this stained glass window was not commemorating his political views. They were commemorating his scientific achievements, which were groundbreaking. And I don't think we should judge people from the past based on the ideas they had at the time, which later proved to be wrong, or which we now know obviously to be wrong. You can't judge people from the past through today's lens. And so, for that reason, and also the college performed very well academically while I was there. Like they'd be like second in the Tompkins table, which is the academic list of colleges. So the college performed very well academically, but it's gone horribly downhill since in the last sort of 10 years. It's really done so badly, and the college is really on a downward spiral. It's very disappointing. So I'm going to give it a high 2-1 just because of for Hawking and its central location, and I had a good time there. Okay, next up, Downing College. Now, Downing, I wasn't even aware this college existed before I applied. And I don't think I ever went in it either. And it's beautiful, classical Greek style buildings, very nice. Sort of has a kind of military feel to regimented lines. But I would look past it on the way to chemistry lectures in my first year every day. Well, not every day, but a few times a week. And get a glance in there, and it is really nice, but not a very prominent college. It's still quite centrally located, but just kind of not. I didn't really know anyone there, and it didn't really have. I didn't think the college has much impact, or famous alumni that I'm aware of besides John Cleese, the comedian from Monty Python. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a low 2-1. I mean, it's nice. Okay, next up, Clare College. So Clare, like King's, I could walk through to get to Keys. So the college wasn't as nice for me, but because I could experience it without having to go there. And it really is just this one courtyard, but it is in an amazing location right by the river, and they have this bridge. So I could walk over the bridge through the college to get to Keys, which is very nice. Um, but I'm going to give it a low 2-1. Next up, Trinity. So Trinity is the College of Isaac Newton, biggest college, wealthiest college, does incredibly well academically. I mean, Trinity is amazing. I mean, it is the number one college, I think, by far. So it's just a no-brainer to give that one a first. Okay, next up, Christ. So Christ is where Darwin went. I think this is a portrait on the right of Darwin that's in the zoology building at Cambridge. So yeah, they had some famous alumni. Christ, quite centrally located. They had this nice gate at the front to get in. But I was never that impressed by the inside of Christ. Christ tends to do pretty well academically, but I don't know. What do I give it? I give it a low 2-1. Okay, next up, Jesus. Right. Now, so Jesus has everything on site. It's not the most centrally located college, but it's pretty centrally located. It's close to the river if you're a rower. It has all the grounds, all the sports grounds, everything is on site. It's really nice college. I don't know. There's something about Jesus. I really like the college. And for that reason, I'm going to give it a first as well. People may disagree with me on that one and may want to swap some of these around, but I really like Jesus. I don't know why. Um, Next up, Emmanuel. So when I was at Cambridge, Emmanuel did very well academically, and it was known for having like a swimming pool and and a duck pond. So apparently, the duck pond was a big draw. People would apply to the college so they could go to the duck pond. Um, it is nice on the inside. It kind of reminds me a bit of um, maybe a bit like Magdalen College, Oxford, but not as nice as Magdalen College, Oxford. So um, good location, yeah, good academically. So I think it's a high 2-1, but not quite a first. Okay, Pembroke. So Pembroke also pretty centrally located. Um, I went to the May Ball at Pembroke one year, and it was nice. I mean, I think Pembroke is nice. It has a unique look to it. It does look nice as well. I think it did pretty well academically. Good location. Uh, so for me, it's also a high 2-1. I like Pembroke. Okay, now Girton. I had to put a map here to show where Girton is. So Girton is far outside of Cambridge because originally it was an all girls college and it was the first all girls college. So they did not want to put the women too close to the men because I think because the men cannot be trusted. So they put it outside of town. And, I remember in my first week at Cambridge, I was lined up for Freshers' Fair and there was a student from Girton. And I was saying, oh, and I made a joke that, oh, so you almost got into Cambridge, right? Because the college is not quite in Cambridge. Um, and he responded that it's not that bad. You can ride your bike. The college grounds are nice, and that's all true. Um, but it's pretty dangerous riding your bike. You have to ride on a major road, and some students have been hurt and even killed riding their bikes on the way to Girton. Um, and I only went there once, and that was to play a football match. And I do remember getting there and thinking it was quite nice, but still pretty far away. So I'm giving it a 2-2. Okay, next up, Sydney Sussex. So Sydney Sussex is known for being the college by Sainsbury's. I don't think I ever went in there. It's just the college by Sainsbury's. You go to you see it every time you go to Sainsbury's, but you never go there. I didn't really know anyone at the college, and I don't know. It was just kind of meh. So I'm giving it a third. Sydney Sussex didn't really have much going for it. I don't think. Next up is I almost called this one Keble. This is Selwyn. So Selwyn, there's another college at Oxford called Keble, which looks similar to this. Selwyn's a bit out of the way. Red brick, I guess Victorian. I don't know. Red brick college. It's okay. I mean, there's not much. Again, I remember the students there were not super ambitious. I don't think they did that well academically. I'm sure they had strong students, but it was just kind of Nothing. So I'm giving it a 2-2. Next up is Newnham. Newnham's nice, but it's another all girls. This is an all girls college. So Girton is now co-educational, but Newnham is all girls, and they had a vote to make it co-educational, and they voted to keep it all girls. I don't know why in the modern era. I think it probably made sense originally to make all girls colleges, but nowadays it doesn't really make sense anymore. So, and it leads to skewed gender ratios. So all the co-educational colleges have a skewed gender ratio towards males, and then the all girls colleges are 100% girls. Um, I'm giving it a third until they go co-ed. Okay, Trinity Hall. So Trinity Hall is also on the river, and Trinity Hall stole land. Their initial founding was based on theft. They stole land from Gonville and Keys, my college, and took away our riverside presence. I think Keys was in financial difficulty, but it was Gonville Hall at the time, back in the 14th century or whenever this happened. But anyway, they took our land, so for that reason, I'm giving them a third. I think otherwise it's quite nice. That may be a controversial pick, but from a Keys perspective, Trinity Hall, it sucks. They're just getting our way. Okay, next up, Queen's. Queen's, very nice college, centrally located, has the mathematical bridge over the river, which is a classic classic view of Cambridge. Where everyone goes punting under here. Very, very nice college. I think it's a Haiti one. My uncle went there as well. Very nice college. Next up is Magdalen. So I think this is the Pepys library, named after Samuel Pepys, the diarist from the time of the Great Fire of London and 17th century, I guess. Not sure, but and then now they're so big on libraries at Magdalen. I think they built another one, so they have two libraries. They're also very nice location by the river. A little bit out of the way, but it was okay. It's a nice college. I think low 2-1. Now Churchill. So Churchill was kind of like, I guess, built around the same time that they built Harvey Court at Gonville and Keys, if you remember. So the problem with Churchill, though, is it has all the buildings are like Harvey Court. I mean, it's just brick, and the bricks are getting pretty grimy looking. They can't keep it looking nice. I mean, they have some nice gardens, but it's a bit out of the way. They have a lot of science students, less on the arts, I think. But it's very meh. I think I'll give it a 2-2. Okay, and now I'm kind of running out of space here, so I'm just going to breeze through some of the other colleges. I think if you look at this image, and if this was one college, you say this is really nice, but this is actually 5 different colleges. We've got Homerton on the top left, the weird clock from Corpus Christi on the top right, Darwin College, which is the only grad college that's along the river. Actually looks pretty nice. And then I think Fitzwilliam College and Murray Edwards. Murray Edwards is another all-girls college. Put these all together, it looks really nice. But these colleges were not very prominent. Like I never went to Murray Edwards, even though my cousin was a student there. We overlapped for 1 year. Never went there. I went to Homerton once for a conference after I left Cambridge. So I didn't even get there while I was a student. I went there afterwards. Corpus, never set foot in there. Darwin, never went there. And Fitz, I didn't even know existed, even while I was at Cambridge. So those are all going in the third class. Now, the final one is the Senate House. The Senate House is not college. This is where you go to graduate. But when I was at Cambridge, they had the exam results. You could go and check your results and compare to other students. And there were some student campaigns to get rid of this. And presumably by the students who did not perform well in exams. And they said, it puts too much pressure on students to be competitive and to basically work themselves to death in order to get a first class degree or a high 2-1 or something like that, which is not true. I mean, I don't think that's how you get a first, by working yourself to death. I knew students who did that and they did not necessarily perform well. Some of them did, but not all of them. I think there are different paths to success. And at Cambridge, you do have to work hard, but it's not the be all and end all. And the idea that you cannot compare yourself to other students or know where you stand relative to them, um, is not great. I think more information is always good, and I found it useful to know how I compared to other students. And it did motivate me to perform well, but it didn't motivate me. It didn't cause me any psychological distress or making me a workaholic because I knew that they were going to post the results at the end of the day. That was irrelevant, right? So they got rid of it, and I think it's a shame, and they should bring that back. So the center house gets a third for me as well. So in summary, um, first class degrees, first should be hard to come by. I restricted it to just 3 colleges, and you could argue some of the colleges that got a 2-1 could be promoted, but I've restricted it to St. John's, Trinity, and Jesus. 2-1, a high 2-1. So of course, everyone who gets a 2-1 at Cambridge, like especially if they do get a high 2-1, they like to say they got a high 2-1. So they always break it down to high 2-1 or low 2-1. Especially if they got, if you're 2 percentage points off of first, you would say you got a high 2-1. And for those, I'm giving King's, Gomerland Keys, Emmanuel, Pembroke, and Queen's. Low 2-1, St. Cat's, Downing, Clare, Christ, Magdalen. 2-2, Peterhouse, Girton, Selwyn, Churchill. And give loads of them third. Maybe it's a bit harsh to give all these a third, but in fact, third should be rare. Maybe some of these deserve a promotion to 2-2. None of them deserve promotion any further than that, but we're going to give Sydney, Sussex, Newnham, Trinity Hall, Homerton, Corpus, Fitz, Murray Edwards, Darwin, and the Centre House. And then there are other colleges that I've forgotten, and some of them are grad only, but I've forgotten the other colleges, and those all get a fail, I guess. And that's it. Thanks for listening.